Thank you, Sudha. And welcome everyone to our Women's Second Careers launch today. Really excited that 70 plus of us could be here today. It's a working day. For some of you in the US, it's very early in your day, perhaps. For a lot of other people, you're winding down your day. So thank you very much for being here today. If you're in Bangalore, you're probably caught in the rains that have suddenly taken us by surprise, a pleasant surprise at that. Right? So thank you again for being here. Um, in September 2024, Sudha, Sushma, and I got together to launch Second Careers. The thought behind Second Careers was driven by our own lived experience. We felt that there are several untapped, underrepresented talent pools that can be of great benefit to employers while serving these untapped and underrepresented groups themselves. With that intent, we launched our first cohort of senior experienced talent on Second Careers with the purpose of helping such people extend, pivot, or restart their careers. We felt that people were driven by a strong belief in wanting to contribute. Purpose was at the core of what drove people to want to extend their careers or to pivot or restart. And the pivot and restart really enabled by the kind of employment model changes that have come to us post COVID, where part-time assignments, advisory, and a whole lot of new employment possibilities have opened up. So we started believing that there are infinite possibilities out there for everyone, and some of us may want to extend our careers doing the same thing that we've done all along, but there could be several other opportunities. Many of us wanting to play advisory roles, maybe wanting to just do consulting, getting into entrepreneurship, even aspiring to be board members, and so on and so forth. So it was with that intent that we launched Second Careers, and we're very happy to share that we've been gratified by the kind of response we've got from senior experienced people who have signed up on our platform today, and are grateful to the employers who have taken that leap of faith and have posted jobs and are supporting people who wish to extend, pivot, or restart their careers. So why Second Careers women now? Now, all three of us coincidentally happen to be women who have, extended, pivoted, or restarted our careers at some point in time. We have lived that experience. We're living that experience. And some of the statistics that we came across were quite, astounding for us. We all know that 50% of the employment workforce or global working population is actually women, but only 40% are in the workforce, which means there's already an underrepresentation there in the global workforce, and only 35% representation of women is there in management positions. So that was the first thing that struck us. But even more astounding was a piece of data that a company called Avtar had researched and put out there. And this is about women in India. 7 million women are waiting to return to careers after a career break. That itself was enough to get us started on thinking, hey, here is an untapped, extremely underrepresented pool of talent that is waiting to be utilized. How do we create an avenue for people like this to come onto our platform and be available for employment opportunities, or for what we call as the second careers? That got us thinking about, okay, here is a talent pool that's underrepresented, but certainly there are success stories out there. And so we launched the 40 Women Over 40 campaign, really to hear inspiring stories that we could bring to you, and for us to actually help shape the kind of offerings we would deliver through Second Careers. One such story, and I think Rajeshwari Iyer is on the call today, and you can see many of these stories. If you visit our website, they're all there. But I actually, wanted to talk about Rajeshwari Iyer today, and lo and behold, Rajeshwari is here today. But Rajeshwari, I'm going to steal your story and share it. Rajeshwari, at the age of 73, is an author of a book that she just published. But her career started way back, way earlier. And, she was an early entrepreneur, supported with the help of her husband, all along the way, she has reskilled herself, taken on learning opportunities, done management education, a course in journalism that got her started off on her writing career. And here she is at 73, a published author. So, round of applause for Rajeshwari, please. Yeah. Okay. And then I said, there is a story that's very, very dear to my heart. And it's about my friend called Maya. A few months ago, I got a call from Maya. Actually, it was a missed call, and she called me twice, which is very unusual for Maya, who is a really busy, busy person. So I was worried when I called her back, and there was the same excitement in her voice that I'd heard when I first met her in 1987. So here Maya was telling me, you know what? I'm so excited. Next month, I'm joining as a consultant to set up the customer service department for this very big airline. And guess what? The chairman called me and gave me this mandate. I couldn't have been happier for Maya at that point in time because it took me back to the COVID times. During COVID times, I had got another call from Maya, except that this time it was a call of desperation. She said, I have to find a job. Can you help me find one? The company that I loved so much and I worked for so many years with has shut down. I need your help, find me a job. And during that time, it was, I have been in HR, but it was extremely difficult to find Maya a job at that point in time. I was thinking, what a waste of this talent. So I was really happy when she called me to tell about her new contract. What I had told her during the COVID period was, Maya, why do you want to look for a job at this point in time? Why don't you enjoy time with your grandson? Shouldn't you be retiring soon? And her response was, duh, I retired 2 years ago. I'm already on an extended contract. And here is Maya in 2026 calling me to say she has been awarded a contract by very, very prestigious companies. It took me back to Maya's earliest story. In 1987, Maya was a mother of a young child. Her husband was working overseas. Maya had started her career soon after graduation as a telephone operator with a very reputable hotel in Mumbai. And she rose up the career. She was driven to that job because of family circumstances and financial necessity. But she was, over a period of time, post marriage, her financial situation turned around completely. However, the purpose and relevance that working had taught her had just kept her driven, and she wanted to work not just in 1987, but she's continuing to work in 2026. So that was, I thought, an amazing, a very, very inspiring story of somebody who had kept themselves relevant and purpose-led, financially independent, well beyond their retirement age as well. So gave us enough opportunities to say, hey, we need to launch this platform. And we have this women's platform. It's not very different from our seniors platform in terms of what we offer. However, we do have some very special offerings that are targeted towards women. The first of them is the returnship program. We are working with partners who will help to source people on our platform for returnship opportunities. One of them, if you're already on our platform and have noticed, is Aspire for Her. They're doing this on behalf of DBS Bank. So if you haven't taken the opportunity to register and look at this opportunity, please, go and see if it makes sense for you to enroll in that program. But we hope to bring more returnship programs to our platform, all through our partner ecosystem. Apart from that, we also realize that skilling and reskilling is an extremely important component of the journey to staying relevant, the journey to making that comeback and creating your own second career. So workshops and learning opportunities, some specifically for women and some for, across genders, will definitely be part of what we offer on our platform. And the third is, it's coming soon, but we are creating courses that will help you to pivot to newer career paths. If you're wondering, what should I do next? I want to be an entrepreneur, but don't know how to get there. Or I've been in the corporate world, but I now want to give back and I want to find a path to the nonprofit sector. So we're looking at how do we create these pivot paths? How do we create the curriculum and help women who are interested in repurposing their careers to equip themselves? A more holistic journey, and if we can move to the next slide, is as part of this launch effort, we are doing a 3-week career reinvention program for women. It's completely free to enroll in the series of 5 programs that we are bringing to you between May 19th and June 2nd. You can click the QR code if you want to register, but you can also find all the details and the links on our website. Right? So what are we doing in these 3 weeks? One of the things that we read about, and this is a recent LinkedIn post, it said that many women skill and reskill. They actually don't know how to network. They don't know how to build their personal brand. Well, guess what? This is true not just for women, but for men as well. But we thought we'd be doing a great service by starting, the branding program for women. So we are kicking off our career reinvention program with a Create Your Personal Brand event. It'll be a short workshop. The second is many women are driven by the need to be financially independent, and it's important to understand financials. And so that's the second program that we're bringing together. A hardcore skills-based program is the third one in the lineup, which is on AI. The fourth and fifth, like we spoke earlier, are about what does it mean to pivot to the social sector, and how do you launch your entrepreneurial journey? So we are really excited about this series of 5 workshops that we are bringing to you. Hopefully, there will be, a sampler for what we have lined up for you over the course of time. And finally, I just want to say a little bit about our platform. Some of you are already on our platform, know what we offer. But we said the jobs is an outcome that everybody is looking for, but there's a path to getting those jobs. So upskilling, extremely important through our learning pathways, our expert speaker events and so on, and specialized technical domain courses. We're offering learning programs on the platform. We also want to do self-help and help you to be coached, take assessments, and decide what are the gaps that you need to plug in order to achieve your aspirations and your goals. The third element is, the whole networking aspect. We've created a community and we call it 2C Exchange. It's on our platform. Joining the community of people with diverse interests and actually diverse backgrounds, we've found is very, very good for you to, come across opportunities and get advice that you never thought you would get elsewhere. So we have the community feature to help you to network and get the benefit of people who are not currently in your other networks. And finally, of course, we have jobs on the platform. So that sort of brings me to, the close of my opening speech, if I have to say that, before we hand it over to Sudha and to Sairi, who I'm really excited and looking forward to hearing. I just want to say, if you haven't already registered, secondcareers.com it is free to register, it's free to apply for jobs, and the Career Reinvention Program is free as well. So with that, Sudha, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Shanti. And yes, it is my great honor to introduce Sairi Chahal, our keynote speaker for the day. Many of you may have seen Sairi in her different avatars over the years. She started as an entrepreneur as a very young person back in the late 90s, starting Women's Internet. Flexi Moms, She Rose, Mahila Money. The term serial entrepreneur truly fits her because she's moved from one initiative to another, adding to her portfolio. But you could also say that these were all towards a single mission, which was to make women count in the workplace as entrepreneurs, in getting their fair share of capital to start businesses, to flourish and bloom without the barriers that otherwise hold them back. Right? So, Sairi, it's a great honor to have you as part of this launch. I know you've been very busy these last few days. You're in Japan, traveling and laying the groundwork for your next big thing. But thank you so much for making time to spend this evening with us. Very eager to hear your thoughts on building a portfolio life and to achieve the career you didn't plan, and why perhaps it might be the best yet. Over to you.
Thank you, Sudha. Thank you. And thank you, Shanti. And really nice to be here. And actually, very heartwarming personally for me. And of course, as you guys know, that I've spent a bunch of time just around women's careers. And of course, most of this was inadvertent. Like, I think two themes, and Sudha, you and I have spoken about some of this. I think two things that have been interesting is one is sort of the next opportunity is actually right in your face most of the time. And when I retrace my steps, actually, most of these things that I ended up doing were right in my face. And a lot of this was just saying yes to what was right, staring at me sometimes, or it just showed up. And second was not self-rejecting, I think. And I have now seen this play out, I think, across at least 3 decades of my work life. So it's a pattern at this point in time. Just to quickly share, in fact, so I grew up in small town India, and I was very eager to get out and sort of make sure I didn't get married early on, and I had a career before everything else. And I did end up having a really good career. But interestingly, I started work in college, and some of that work was really odd jobs. Honda was launching cars and sort of standing as salespeople at the counter in auto shows, to doing editorial work for a chambers of commerce, to helping different embassies with their PR and content needs. So literally all sorts of odd jobs. But by the time I graduated, I had done about 4 years of work already. So it was a assortment of portfolio, which just sort of, gave me a network to launch, and then sort of, just the confidence. I think the thing is, it doesn't matter how big a win is, every win sort of gives you more confidence. It's like when you start learning a new skill on day one, you're so zero, like you don't even know how I'm going to do it. But if you do it for 30 days and 90 days and then maybe 300 days, you're a very different person. For example, if you've tried to learn yoga or a musical instrument or a sport, we've all seen how progression works. And I think a lot of this is just that. So I actually ended up building a startup right from college, a tech company at a point when I was a humanities student pursuing my PhD, and I had no clue about tech. Actually, my only tech was that I could check my email. That was it. But I met somebody who offered me an opportunity, and it was totally out of my league. I mean, I really liked the guys, but everything they were talking about was really, it was like if today Elon Musk says, do you want to work on the Mars colony project? Honestly, I have no clue how this works. But, at the same time, I would say yes, and then sort of, go all in and learn it on the job. So it was similar to that. This is 99. I'm still in college, 21, and ended up building a company. Was the first employee on the team, and obviously ended up building everything, like the first hire. But in the end, it was really the company that I built. And that really sort of, I think, became a template for my own life. Like, hey, let's sort of go all in and just say yes to opportunities. Worst case, you'll fail, somebody will reject you, it didn't work out, but you would have still come out learning a lot more than having to, not sort of jump in. Then you're just sort of standing on the shore watching ships go by. So that happened, and beginner's luck. Newslink had an exit. Like, I got to see paper napkin to an exit as a young person. I didn't even know selling a company is called an exit. I thought it's just a sign on the door. But and then of course somewhere along the way, because this happened, I got very interested in internet and tech and all of that. And I did have a corporate job once in my life with a company called Hydrick and Struggles, and then I also worked with Confederation of Indian Industry. So very different jobs. One was setting up a Russia operation, the other was a corporate and board practice. And this is about 30 years ago, when we were taught that careers need to be like, you have to do the same thing all your life. Like if you were an HR person, you did HR. If you were a marketing person, if you were a software person, that's all you did. Strangely, that playbook never it never triggered for me, so I ended up never following one path. And I was also like, curious to learn and try out new things, or try out things for slightly hippie reasons, if you will. Like, I spoke Russian and I always wanted a job that allowed me to work in Russia, so CII was that job. So again, random reasons, but I had a lot of fun, to be honest. It was actually absolutely a joyride. But the whole thing around women happened, I think, as I grew and my own career grew. And we were a generation where, women always stood first in class. We got the top grades, we got the best jobs, but we also dropped out first. We also said, like, we'll take career breaks first and things like that. So FlexiMoms was a result of that. And just, personal experiences, seeing a lot of my own classmates who I went to school with give up really, like, gold medal grade careers for, you know, raising kids and families and, big Indian festivals and things like that. And funnily, I think FlexiMoms was the time when the first wave of second career sort of really became, real. Like, it became a term, and we put it on the internet. We were the first platform to put it on the internet. Uh, I knew nothing about websites, but I still went to Noida and sat down with a web guy and said, here is, I drew it on a piece of paper to say, "Aisa form bana dijiye." And he made a form that was literally two different, one for women, one for corporates to connect, and then it had a content section, really rudimentary and ugly if you look at it today. But it, because it was the first, it got a lot of uptake. Like, we had Tata sign up before Tata second careers happened. They signed up on FlexiMoms, and Mahindra's came, and then I think we, it was like a whole stream, and that got me thinking. And that's how Shiro's happened. And Shiro's idea was like just to sort of create a bigger, wider space, because the thing is, we've all been handed industrial careers, where careers are actually a maze. They don't move in ladders, they move in jigsaws. There are more snakes and ladders than actually career ladders straight up. And I think Shiro's was built for everybody to custom make their own life and not just careers. And the other thing is, the industrial world kind of secluded rest of living from work, and that's why we don't have enough women at work, because women can never leave rest of the living, right? Like having kids or raising them or caregiving. I mean, biologically, we can't leave it. So however much we say, or even, just the texture of our society or spaces. And I remember, like, I grew up at a steel plant, and I remember we had this lady, Miss Meena, who was a visiting engineer, and the factory didn't have loos for women because she was the only engineer who ever came. So she used to come to our house to use the restroom. So I think we saw up in all of this very closely. So I knew that, like, we need to take a very comprehensive look at work and life and really blend it all up, because the more we segregate it, the harder it is going to get for women to succeed. So I think a lot of my own sort of experience was that. And now I think if you fast forward that whole thing to 2026, we are all living in a world where it's not only the women who are getting disrupted, everybody's getting disrupted because of technology, because of just, companies don't have the stability they used to have at that point in time, or so everybody's sort of now rethinking how to do this whole blend your life and work and, face the uncertainty and move on. So that kind of really, so Shiro's I ran for about, 12, 14 years. I'm still the largest shareholder in the company. We still do almost everything that I had
It's
said.
9 o'clock.
So I think, and then, again, an opportunity came in COVID. A lot of people, I mean, we know India had a very tough lockdown, and a lot of women from our community lost either their jobs or their livelihoods and wrote to me to say, hey, like, how can we get back on our feet? So it started with me putting aside 5 lakh rupees in a new bank account to say, hey, here are small loans for you to, like, set up yourself again. And that ended up being Mahila Money. We ended up building a lending fintech for women entrepreneurs. I don't know if some of you have heard of the movie called English Winglish. Remember Sridevi, who's at home but makes these beautiful laddus? And she's a rock star, but nobody in her family really thinks she's an entrepreneur. And that's another thing. A lot of women do a lot of interesting creative work, which never gets the name and recognition it deserves, and it definitely doesn't get the capital. So I think COVID onwards, a lot of my own focus has become around capital for women. So we started Mahila Mini, we had our own journey, but we ended up building a company that's just dedicated to offering women loans. 2 months ago, I rewired Mahila Mini as an agentic platform. I literally went down and learned how to code using AI, vibe coding as they call it these days. And now it's actually an agentic platform, probably one of the few India fintechs that's all agentic. But more than that, I think, and because I was one of the earliest founders, I always had founders come to me to say, hey, like, going to do this, we're going to set up this. So for a long time, I would chat with them and sort of say, like, give them some advice. But after a point in time, it started feeling like a fraud. So then I started doing small angel checks, 2 lakh rupees, 5 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees, whatever could happen. And somewhere along the way, it became like a thing. It became like 50, 60 companies. And then I set up a micro fund called Appreciate Capital, invest with a gender smart thesis, and then invested via it. And somewhere along the way, board seats started coming to say, oh, you've been a founder so long, you've been an operator, we are going to go IPO. Why don't you take a board seat with us? And if you look at all of this, none of this was on the charts. Like this couldn't be foreseen, planned, put on a map. It was just, like show up and play with it every day. In fact, there's a Substack I wrote, which I will try and sort of share with everyone. I think it literally sort of retraces some of this journey to say, I grew up in an era when TV were black and white and there were only books and no internet. And now I'm vibe coding. Like it just feels surreal to say where we are. The great thing is the AI world is leveling it for everyone. Everybody's having the same challenge. So I think for once, I think women have an advantage. And we got to grab this with both our hands, and we got to sort of actually have a lot more fun with it than we usually do. And we also sort of self-reject a lot. We always say like, I'm not good at this, or am I a fraud, or like, should I even go for this interview? So, and I always say like, don't self-reject. Take the time to get rejected by somebody else because you'll learn something from the rejection. And the other person will get to see you. Even if they don't pick you, they will get to see who you are and like, come back. But like go through the process because the process is golden, it's precious. It's it just sort of, gives you a lot more confidence. The process is actually and a lot more fun, I think. So yeah, so today, if you look at me, I am still a shareholder in Shiro's. I am actually passing Mahila Money to a management team at this point in time. I'm setting up a growth capital fund. So because I started doing pre-IPO board seats, I'm actually now setting up a growth stage fund to invest in pre-IPO companies. And I promise you, if you spoke to me in 2020 and said pre-IPO growth stage companies, I would have laughed because I didn't even know what those mean. And some of the companies I'm investing in are companies that I actually wrote angel checks to. I give their first 100K or 50K or 20K. So, and this is all sort of just intertwined, and it's all sort of like, I think the result of playing, if you will. But at the same time, I think they're you end up doing different things for different reasons. So I would say early in your career, you're just trying to pay your bills and you're trying to say like you want to prove your parents right and you stood first in class and you want to now be a vice president in a big company. So, okay, fair enough. Second is you just want to learn about like cool and exciting things. You want to sort of, know about what's happening in the world. You want to travel. You want to have a big designation. You want recognition. And then at some point you say, okay, I want to give back. I want to sort of now extend outside of me. And some things you do just because you love, like writing, for example, or fitness, for example, is that thing for me. And I really love those things. Like one of my hopes is that as I sort of grow older, I write more because I absolutely enjoy it. So I think I would say in today's world, especially, I think most of us in this room have done our basics. We have checked all our basic boxes. We have probably, paid our dues. We have done our, first careers. We have sort of done good at some things, and, we have arrived here. So it's a really great chance to actually do things for the reasons that appeal to you. And the fun thing is that you can do more than one thing in today's world. In fact, I would say a portfolio of what you want to do. Like I now, you know, I think my fund will become my real job, but I still do not-for-profit boards because I think these are causes and people I really want to support, and then uh, reading, writing, yoga, these are things I want to keep learning about because they're just sort of so nourishing to me personally. So whatever is that thing for you, I think do things because it feeds a certain purpose. I think in our younger age, we were trying to get that one job to do everything for us. We wanted our organization to be great, and we wanted our salary to be great, and we want learning to be great. It was a lot of pressure on that one job that we had. But this is a great time to not demand that, and you can make it modular, you can bifurcate it, and you can also have a lot more fun. And it just is, held with ease. It will also mean that some of these things will be a lot less shorter. Probably our earlier careers were longish in age. I ran Heroes for 12 years, but everything that I'm doing now is actually much shorter. And that's the nature of the world we have sort of landed up in. And I think in some ways, it is exciting. And of course, I think one sort of common message I would say is, and I was very happy to see that supercharged with AI, just figure out this whole AI thing. It's actually so much easier than everything else you've done. If I can vibe code a whole platform in a month's time, you guys probably have a lot more, professional skills and talent to sort of figure all of this. So whether it's building yourself an agentic platform or whether it is learning data modeling, it doesn't matter. Just go play with it because these are all free tools out there. So you can, and I will share the Substack link about, some of this that I shared. And then, of course, I think uh, the interesting thing in the world today is that irrespective of whether we have a job or not, we are all going to be entrepreneurs. Like our kids are all going to be entrepreneurs. The jobs are just a way to sort of say, hey, you know, it's a nice template, but company life cycle is so unpredictable at this point in time. I think we all saw the age of big tech. We saw the Oracles, SAPs, Facebook, Googles of the world. We will see more concentration as we go along. Like we are now seeing Anthropic becoming bigger and bigger every day, and every bit of capital in the world is sort of going into three AI companies, whereas everybody else is sort of, getting disrupted. The long tail of small, self-employed, freelance businesses are going to be massive. So everybody in this room could literally run 2 to 3 personal projects, entrepreneurial ventures, and still have like a lot more bandwidth for your own life. And we're also a generation that literally left home at 8 in the morning and came back at 8 at night and had no personal life, had no friends for a long time because there was no time. And then, of course, we never saw our parents. We sort of never built a personality outside of work. And like our work was our entire personality for like, I think, as long as we remember. This is a great time to like just discard some of that and, find a totally hippie personality that you have always wanted, whether it was food or fashion or travel or, whatever you've always loved. So I think in some ways, this is a blessing in disguise. So it's like when, horses gave way to cars, then you could have, said, I'll stick to horses, or you could have learned how to drive a car. So this is a great time to drive a car, but also, have fun racing it or just do like other things. Yeah, so I think that's very briefly a little bit of how I've sort of enjoyed it. And of course, now I have, like, for example, my first job was as a journalist. And the reason I took it because I like writing and research, but then I figured it doesn't pay that well. And of course, when I was younger, I was hoping like at one day, and my first startup was a media startup. Like today, I love writing and I'm not expecting any money from it. It's just as simple as that. I just want to write for writing's sake and just, leave it out there. But I want to make my money from like elsewhere. And I think we're going to see a lot of this portfolio approach to building your own life, your own career, and staying like ahead of the whole thing. And then, of course, I think we still get into rooms that are very dominated by men. They're louder, they're more brash, they have more public space to themselves. And I would say take back some of that, so they just show up, have your drink or have that conversation wherever you think these spaces are. And I know, Sudha, you're in Bangalore, and like it's such a big hub for tech, right? And it all tech hubs become bro hubs automatically. So I would say disrupt some of that, like do your own sort of thing. It could literally be, I don't know, build an agentic to sort of, you know, running a baking studio or a little manufacturing shop or a restaurant business or whatever is your thing. And I promise you, I think if we start doing like a whiteboarding exercise for all the ideas each one of us has, it'll be at least 1,000 ideas on that whiteboard by end of it. And so take those ideas and sort of start having fun with them, and some of those will stick. Some of those are idea that you won't be willing to give up that easily. And yeah, and I think uh, the other sort of thing is that we were all given this notion of jobs, like job was the defining thing in your life, right? Like your marriage, your success, your social status came from job. But I think it's a chance to construct our own life plus work. So it's not so much about a job anymore. It's about, hey, a job is part of my mix. It's literally one of the five things in my life, and I'm going to sort of design it myself, which means it comes with more responsibility. It also comes with more having to think about it. In a corporate job, you could go on for a long time without having to worry about the system carried you, which is great. But I think we are here now, and it's such a fun time like to be doing this. And most of you have probably, you're way beyond some of the basics that are there in your career when you start out, having a house or a car, or just supporting yourself, or having like a name for yourself. And this is literally no holds barred. You can do anything you want, and you should. So that's all I think I would sort of say here. And um, let me just share the Substack here with you. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Awesome.
And yeah, I think look, just leap. I would say just leap. Don't self-reject, and just have so much fun with it. Like whatever is fun for you, go chase that line. It's not going to look like work anymore. The fun thing is that most work is not work anymore if you're having fun. And there's so many opportunities to do that. Whether like I'm now getting more of that from investing because I end up meeting such smart entrepreneurs. And I was like, oh wow, like there's no way I could have learned all of this when I was building my own companies because I was so heads down building it, and I was not sort of even looking ahead on the horizon. So I think uh, some of that. And then of course you do some things because they are, they keep you edgy and they keep you sharp and they keep your brain from rotting. So for me, some of the work around growth investing is like that. Like I'm literally for the first time paying attention to SEBI reports and analyst calls, and I was like, oh wow, what an interesting thing going on here, let me learn some more. So yeah, so I think yeah, and of course none of this happens all by yourself. So this is a great community to have. This is such a strong and a valuable community to have. People who know where you stand, and people who have, who have also a sense of perspective on life. And that can't be bought, that can't be traded for, and just make the most of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sairi. That was very, very inspiring. And in addition to everything that you said, I'm also thinking one of your defining traits is not resting on your laurels. Right? You built company one, built company two, you didn't stop. You went on to number three, four, five. You got the Cartier Award for entrepreneurship. You got the L'Oreal Femina Award. You got labeled the most powerful woman in Indian business. All of that under your belt. And here you are rearing to go at that fund, doing more because
You
it
know,
brings you joy.
yeah,
Love that about you. And I think we
yeah.
will all take a lot from what you shared with us. Uh, we do have quite a few comments here in the
Yeah.
chat box.
Yeah.
But perhaps you could pick one of those questions that you would
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
perhaps build on
So
what you've already said. Yeah.
absolutely. I think I have one question from Amrita. I have experience of 7 years in IT, taken a break for 14 years. Currently upskilling myself by learning ML and getting back to IT. Can I help? So the great thing, Amrita, in today's world is, I think earlier when you were trying to get back in the career track, you really had to wait for somebody to pull you in. Like a company had to invite you in. I would say literally start by setting up your GitHub and do a personal project. Let your project be your resume. And I think in today's world, let the project that you care about the most talk for you than ever having to send a resume, you know. And I think that's a great flex, especially if you have technical skills already. So I would say don't wait on. And the good thing is, look, I mean, if you just see the cohort of startups around you, just the number of smart companies being built in Bangalore, for example, or in Hyderabad or in Chennai or in Silicon Valley, it's there are a lot of opportunities. The thing is that all these opportunities are entrepreneurial. People are looking for people who will take the matter in their own hands and not fear failure. So put whatever you feel is your project out there, you know. And uh, and the fun thing is that you can learn all of this really really fast today, you know. So I think that's the chance to sort of, and of course second is put yourself out there, go out and sort of check out some of the new, you know, whether startup meetups or AI meetups. If you literally subscribe to this platform called Luma and say send me updates on, you know, events in Bangalore, your inbox will be full the next day. At least go to one event a week or two events a week. And that's it. Like I'm sure you'll meet somebody smart, have a conversation, you know, go meet them in their office, and things happen organically. Like it just, you know, you're saying yes to things that are showing up in your life. So make that showing up like a little more easy to happen, I would say.
Yeah. So the future belongs to high agency women and
I
individuals. Yes.
exactly.
So I think time to own that agency and live our
Exactly.
best lives. You know, when we started Second Careers, the tagline we chose was infinite possibilities. And that's
Exactly.
exactly the message we're taking away.
You know, like anything can happen, literally anything. And
Literally, it can happen.
yeah, and also I think the one other thing is we were all sort of given a path. You know, we were given a path to say that's how work happens, that's how marriage happens, that's how career happens, that's what success looks like. Like success formula was, you know, house, car, social status, maybe a golf club membership, right? It doesn't have to be that way. You can do it the way you like, you know. And so maybe, you know, like it's time to sort of also maybe make friends with uncertainty a little more, because we are going to be in a world that's highly uncertain at this point in time, not just geopolitically but also business wise. And I think that's a good muscle to build. Like don't wait on, make do with where you are, what you have, and also what you enjoy. Like it doesn't matter, you know, uh, what you did in the past. What's interesting is what you can do with where you are today, and you're also a stronger, better, more experienced person. So maybe discard some of the older you know, and we carry a lot of our older us, you know, that used to do things a certain way and, you know, behave a certain way. And of course at this point, maybe, you know, our kids are at a different age, our families are at a different place. So it's in some ways it's shedding that old skin and saying like it's new me, and it's going to do things with, you know, with where I am, and, you know, optimizing what I have and not waiting for like an optimal situation to appear and an optimal employer to appear.
Absolutely. Thank you so much with those messages. On behalf of everyone here at Second Career, Sari, thank you for making time for this conversation. I know we're
Thank
going to dissect every sentence you spoke. Uh, you know, sit with it for some time and internalize, because there's a lot to take away. Much appreciate this
Thank
conversation.
you. No, thank you, everyone, and all the best. And of course, if I can help, I'm really easy to find on social media. So, you know, please look out, and of course, you know, have fun.
Yeah, counting on you to be an ally to this community. Thank you very much.
Always. Abs-
And keeping in the same vibe, inspiring conversations with women high achievers. Over to Sushma Rajgopalan to introduce the panel and lead the conversation, Sushma.
Thank you very much, Sudha. And Sairi, that was exceptionally inspirational. Thank you much. But to continue in the same vein, our whole idea is to showcase as many inspiring women who have extended, pivoted, or restarted their careers. And we said we need to have as many stories shared. So we picked 3 out of the 40 over 40. And we have today Meenakshi, Amy Siegel, and Pramila to share their journeys. And we will also have Q&A at the end of it. So those of you who had questions for Sairi, some of those questions can also be dealt with. So please don't feel disappointed that your question was not answered. Without further ado, okay, and in no particular order, may I invite Amy, Bhavna, and Meenakshi to start with a very short, succinct career journey for each one of you. Amy, would you like to go first? And
I knew you were going to miss.
Talking,
Go ahead.
And sorry, Amy, while you're talking about it, also think about that one skill that you had. In Saili's case, she was resilient. Okay, she was fearless, right? What was that one skill that each one of you had that has helped you? Over to you, Amy.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Sushma, and nice to meet you all. I was thinking about the second careers theme and with a group of women leaders last night, and I think I'm on the 7th or 8th, if you think about it, for a full lifetime of careers. Quick background is I basically studied international economics and relations, started my career actually in the international trade finance realm, working with Asian buyers of U.S. exports to fund exports and promote U.S. exports. That was my first job, which, Sushma, you could say, wow, that has nothing to do with what you're doing now. I come from a very global background. I have a master's degree in that regard. So that's always been part of my DNA is global. And then where I pivoted and where I realized I had unique skills, so it took me probably a decade to realize that, is when I shifted from finance to management consulting and strategy, which is how I got into healthcare. I ended up as a strategy consultant doing work with large global healthcare companies on organic and inorganic growth strategy, and got further interested in the healthcare space and in the healthcare technology and medtech space. Basically, flash forward, I ended up working for a medtech company as a VP of strategic marketing through an acquisition by what's now Medtronic. I decided once my kids were old enough to enter the startup world and joined a diagnostic startup after that acquisition, and then started my own company in 2011, really as a boutique consultancy, kind of combining my operational experience, my consulting experience, and I founded it with a partner, a much younger man, which is interesting, who is just a genius in algorithm science, coding, that kind of thing. So the idea was to be extremely data-driven in our approach to commercial strategy for medical technology companies. Grew that organically, and then my latest pivot and how I got to know Sushma was really seeing that we could provide solutions at scale that leverage data. So pivoted our consulting LLC to a C Corp, became venture-backed, built products, and are now rapidly growing revenues as a product-based company, a very different type of company, full service, different functions. I'd say what I learned about my skill sets are, number one is my ability to think strategically, which I never knew was a skill for many years. But that what is thinking strategically is putting together a lot of data points and making conclusions and finding a path forward. I've also learned that can be a blessing and a curse if you live in the current and the future state all the time in your brain, which is interesting too. I also learned about my own relationship to risk and being willing to take risks, calculated risks. So I guess those were the two things I learned about myself that you don't realize are unique or differentiated, but truly are. So that was my maybe not so short introduction. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts, by the way. So this is my natural home habitat. So nice to meet you all.
And let's hold on to that. Two things that you talked about. We'll come back to revisit it. Bhavna, would you like to go next?
Thanks, Sushma. Good evening, everybody. Bhavna. I'm a partner at Ernst & Young, based out of Bangalore. I think this was a very interesting topic when Sushma and I were discussing. The funny part is that people often ask me how I went from nutrition background to becoming a partner at EY. And I always say my career wasn't a straight line. It's, I think, as Amy was telling, it's a series of second chances that I chose to take. Born, brought up in a small town in Andhra, and from a nutrition, I've worked in the US for about 6 years, then moved back to India. And if you look at my career graph from a systems analyst to solution architect to P&L owner, and now a partner at EY where I drive strategic accounts, and the biggest learning over the years that I kind of shaped is that I've never done the same role what I've done before. So I strongly believe in a 50-50 principle. What I say is, 50% is something that what your prior experiences can bring to the table, and the remaining 50 is what you're excited to learn in the new role. I think the growth is in that 50% of discomfort, right? I think if we have chances to take up that that as a opportunity to grow, opportunity to learn, I think that's where the progress is defined. I've known Sushma for during her stint at ITC, and I can't trust more that she's the first person to recognize that I can be a fantastic salesperson. I was really not sure about it, but I think she pushed me to that 50% uncomfortable situation, and then actually it's like throwing you into the water and you figure it out, right? But the only thing that drove me to swim through the lanes is the courage and the confidence that there's somebody else backing you. So that's a quick journey. One thing I can talk about is anybody. I mean, I've taken multiple chances, right? I've never sold licenses in my life. I took a complete reset button in while I joined Microsoft to go and sell licenses to an industry which I never seen before. In ITC, I've been with ITC for about 14 years. I have done every single role possible in that organization. As I said, I joined as a CRM solution architect. In 12 years, I exited as a industry leader, running businesses in multiple geographies. Joined IBM to run the scale, which is basically $100 million businesses. Then joined Microsoft, which again from a travel and hospitality vertical to join healthcare. Then from healthcare, today I run ASEAN corridor as a business. And then I also run strategic accounts, which are in 3 different sectors. I run aviation sector. I run, what do you call it, as EPC, engineering, procurement, and construction companies. I also run consumer and retail businesses. So I honestly speaking, it's an exciting journey for me that I didn't leave any stone unturned to experiment and explore. That's a quick snapshot of my journey. And a pleasure to be here interacting with all of you to share what I bring to the table. But I think everybody brings some unique experiences that we all can learn from.
I'm going to come back to you on the 50% discomfort, which I think is very pivotal. Meenakshi, thank you for patiently hearing the others. I know you have a resounding extend, pivot, restart story. So over to you, Meenakshi.
Thank you, everyone. I'm happy to see all vibrant women here. So, if I look back, reinvention for me hasn't been a one time event. It's been a pattern, like Sairi very well mentioned and captured it. I spent over a decade in banking, growing from right from being a trainee into leadership roles. On paper, it looked like success, but something within me, honestly felt that I could do much more. So, but what I enjoyed most during my banking journey was always understanding people and their behaviors and not just numbers. So that curiosity led me to pursue my MBA very late. Probably people were questioning why an MBA now. At that point of time, I pursued it from Narsi Monji, which I felt that it would just add a degree, but it did much more. I walked into a classroom full of engineers as the only banker, and that experience taught me that not fitting in can actually be the start of standing out. Yeah. And then a personal challenge pushed me to step away from the full-time banking career, and I moved into executive education at IIM Bangalore, where I began to see that business challenges are really people challenges in disguise. And that led me to take up studying psychology, again another new field. And then I moved on to EY, where I was part of transformation and strategy execution. And today I run my own firm, Grow Org Consulting, where I coach professionals and organizations to prepare for growth and performance. And interestingly, I also bring in my training as a Bharatanatyam dancer, because transformation is not just about thinking differently but experiencing it differently. So for me, reinvention, if you say, it has been a continuous process of listening, adapting, and choosing what comes next rather than just waiting for clarity. And I'm still open and exploring what more can I add on to my portfolio. Like Sairi mentioned, nowadays carriers are portfolio carriers. It's not a one particular project that we do with what particular organization. You have to keep yourself open for opportunities. So I hope I was able to share a quick snapshot. And some of the skill sets that kept me going is my curiosity and adaptability, I would say, because I have been always curious about people, what drives them, and how they think, and what that stayed constant across every role that I took on. And the second was being willing to start again, you see, because even after being successful, I was okay to being a beginner in a new space. So I think that mindset of staying curious and not needing to have all the answers done for me made all my transitions possible. And I still have that attitude towards life, whether it is personal or professional. And it's really fun, like Sairi very well mentioned. Thank you.
So I have to ask, and from here on, let's make it a dialogue. I won't just jump in, and it's okay if you speak over each other. The the question that occurs to me is, all of us, and all of you particularly, are coming across as this very confident self. Were you always like that? Was there anyone who was shy, timid?
Sushma, if I can go first.
Yeah.
Growing up in a small town and in a very orthodox family, what I am today versus 30, 40 years back is a complete transformation. So I think situations keep you strong, and your attitude will always move you towards that. I was absolutely somebody. My mother used to tell me, "Speak up when somebody comes home or something." Now my mother says, "Just shut up. You talk too much," right? So I think that also comes with the challenges that you face both professionally and personally. So it's who I am is not the same I was.
Interesting. Anyone else? Meenakshi, Amy.
Yeah.
Amy, I can't see you as anything but a confident self right from the time you were 2 years old, maybe. Or am I wrong?
I do think there are a lot of people that come across as extroverts, but they're really introverts. And I've learned to spot them. People that you think of. I don't know if I'm in that category. I think I am a true extrovert. I think I'm truly, I'll lead more with confidence. But I do have some introvert as well, and some need to process along the way. So, but I think, yeah, I think part of being a career person is that you have to portray that confidence externally for sure.
So you bring up an extremely good point that I sincerely believe in. Okay, you can be confident and you can be an introvert. Confidence is not equal to extrovert. Okay, a lot of people think I am an extrovert. I'm not. I'm actually an introvert.
There you go.
But
there you go.
I am. And all the assessment tests that I take, right? I sort of, I toggle between introvert and extrovert. But nobody thinks I'm not confident. Okay. A lot of people may think I don't know a lot of things, but still I'm confident, right? So that whole attitude of confidence is an absolute necessity for success. Which brings me to the question of the kind of challenges that you would have faced. And we'll start with you, Meenakshi. What kind of challenges did you face? While you have so boldly gone and experimented things and tried things that you inherently didn't start with.
So, Sushma, this is a question which I keep re-looking at, and the answers keep revising in my mind. So, for me, fear showed up most strongly, when I had to let go of my identity of being a successful banker I had built over the years, right? And I wasn't afraid of learning something new, but I was afraid of starting again, of being seen as inexperienced after being successful. So that was the biggest challenge that I had. And what helped me was shifting my focus to from the bigger outcome that I'm thinking about to just that next step. So I didn't wait for confidence. I still at times think that what is confidence for me in various situations. So I kept moving. I feel despite the fear that is still lingering even now within me certain days. And but yes, with that path that I took, the confidence also followed. And honestly, failure didn't come as one big event. It showed up as small missteps, if I may say, along the way, which I started seeing as feedback rather than setbacks. So it's the approach towards the fear and failure has what has kept me going till today, and it will keep going in the future as well.
Amy, Bhavna, chime in if you have anything. All right. Okay.
I guess I would say, and maybe this is appropriate for second careers for women. And Sushma knows this, but a couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I think that's a common, it's far too common among women. And it when you're used to being somebody who just goes, who absorbs bumps in the road for yourself, for entire teams, you're just going to work that much harder. It really, forced me to kind of connect with what was important to me, to really dig deep and say, how do I overcome and see the other side of something? How do I'm hearing some seeing some nods on the channel. I think probably at a certain age, everyone's had some health challenge, and I'm fortunately doing well. I'm in a great city for healthcare. But I do think, when you're just go, and, throw it at me, and it sort of gives you pause in a new way. And I was in the process of raising my first seed round for my company when that all happened. So I would say, in retrospect, it made me a stronger person, because you think you're good at overcoming challenges till you get something like that, and it's hard to see a path forward, and then you do find your path forward on the other side. So I think, it makes you stronger, but it certainly was a big challenge to me. And like, how do I navigate this and make space for myself to deal with that while managing a big career pivot into becoming a venture backed company at the same time. So maybe that was overshare, but I think in this group, probably relevant.
No, nothing is an overshare, because these are things that all of us face at some point in time or the other. And the key is we all go through moments, and however successful you are, okay, you go through moments when you question, you're full of self-doubt. And one of the things that we want to do through Second Careers is this whole concept of a community. And I'm not saying everybody in the community you will be able to relate to, but there might be people who will be instrumental in pulling you out of this. I know that most of you who are on this are, self-made women with tremendous amount of confidence. But even people like that do need sometimes, a person to share things with, a hand to reach out to, right? I want to now go to the role of champions in your life. Call it champions or role models. I grew up with actually not having too many role models. My role model was just my mother and my high school principal, okay, who I wrote about in my LinkedIn article. My mother was not a career woman. The principal, she was in those days, I think she was Cambridge educated, and someone who played a pivotal role in my life, which I'm realizing now. I didn't realize it back then, right? Do all of you have champions that you would attribute this to, or role models you would attribute it to?
Absolutely.
And while our panelists are composing their thoughts, if you have questions, okay, please start putting it in the chat, and we'll be monitoring that, and I'll start taking some of your questions. Meenakshi, you were about to say something.
Yeah, Sushma. So having champions is definitely an asset in anyone's career. But yes, having the best champions running for you is even more luckier. So I still remember my MBA professor, late Mr. Mali Mahalingam, who saw potential in me before I even fully owned it myself. Having been blessed to work with some of the incredible leaders who constantly pushed me to think bigger. So what? You have to go for it. They always felt that I could do something beyond what I'm currently doing. So whatever roles that I picked up, anytime I wanted, like you said, you actually want to speak to someone saying that, I'm going to be taking this detour, whether I'll fit in. We question our own abilities, our capabilities, the timing, the situation. So when you have some champions to speak to, it's really a blessing. But yes, though I had so many champions, I would definitely want to quote that my life partner, Captain Mahesh, who has been always strongly supporting me, who may not have sent me to the army, but made sure I showed up as a fighter in my own life. So
He
that's what
made you he made you a one-man army, one-woman army.
yes, yes. So that's what I've learned. Sometimes others believe in your potential before you do. So that's what keeps us going. So having that
Yes.
wonderful community like you're building, it's an absolute necessity of the hour.
Right.
Sushma, if I can add on to what Meenakshi just said, right? I mean, back then when we were in our early stages of our career, maybe we had some champions, but we really didn't recognize those as champions,
Right.
right? We just went with the flow. But I think I resonate a lot with what Meenakshi is saying. Once you start recognizing these interventions of those people who come in and make that impact in your lives, and I think you start realizing that life is so blessed that you have people who stand up for you, who believes in you, things that you never have thought about it. And I can go on and I talk about this sponsorships very loud and in public forums a lot, that while we all may have our own abilities and strengths, sometimes we don't realize them until some external intervention comes and says what you're capable of, right? Like from as I was telling you, I was a CRM solution architect. I never thought I could set up a loyalty center of excellence. Someone believed in it and pushed in towards that, right? And I had tears when someone said I will be that person. And come next person came in and said I should run a vertical, which I never even in my life thought I would run an airline's vertical in my entire life. My first question, I literally had butterflies in my stomach because I don't know the domain. I don't know what it means to run an airline vertical. But the first question I had is, why me? I don't even come from that background. But I was super surprised that that person had 10 reasons why I should play that role, which I never even imagined that would, right? And I can take, I mean, I'm not trying to please you on this, which I will anyways do. You are someone in my first interaction with you in during our working situation. You were absolutely clear. And I think that's what the champions means, right? They recognize your traits early on and spot on. And you said, Bhavna, these are your strengths. These are not so good things about you. So chuck those not so good things. Let's focus what you're good at. And this is what I think you can be a fantastic salesperson. I in my entire life I have never imagined going and selling services to a client, which to me was always very uncomfortable situation to stand in front of. Sales is not an easy thing, right? You have 9 out of 10 situations are rejections. How to deal with those rejections is something that I learned. And over a period of time, every role, I think it's also an equal responsibility on us to recognize who those champions are
Correct.
and make a partnership with them. And every
Right.
organization, or when I'm talking about, I'm purely talking about a professional side, personal. I mean, I can go on that. But if you can recognize who that sponsor is in your organization, and if they can be your ally, I think work becomes much more fun. You start enjoying, and I strongly believe you should start loving what you do or do what you love, right? Anything, you should have fun with what you're doing. So I think success doesn't come easy without allyship of many people around us. Some we name, some we don't name, but it's an effort that comes to make you the person who you are.
So, two observations, right? A lot of people think fear is a bad thing. I actually believe fear makes you succeed more. The fear of failure, okay, for me personally, fear of failure is actually what gets me going. So I would say it's very natural for people to have fear. But don't let the fear take the better of you. Okay. So, Sujata, I know you're not on the panel, but I know you want to contribute something. So let me open the floor to you, Sujata.
Oh, I don't quite know where to begin.
Okay.
Let me just say, I think
It's okay. You can compose your thoughts if you want. You can compose your thoughts, and I can come back to you. Okay.
Well, I think my trajectory has been somewhat very different from what I'm hearing from everybody else. I'm a rocket scientist.
Wow.
I retired a year ago, and I am looking to pivot to the next thing. And since I worked on a variety of different products, I worked on aircraft, I worked on the space shuttle, I worked on the International Space Station, and most recently I worked on the rocket for the Artemis program, which just launched. And I kind of am at a point where I feel been there, done that. But I want to focus more on mentoring, on something to do with sustainable development goals and stuff like that. And I'm struggling because I'm not an MBA, I'm not a social scientist, and I'm not quite sure how to move into a different space. And that was the reason I decided to sign in for this today, because I saw that you come more from the social sciences side of the world. And I was hoping maybe you could give me some pointers on how I might pivot to doing something different in terms of putting back, maybe helping somebody else in their career journey or whatever.
I would say, Sujata, try different things. You have the luxury to try. You have the luxury of time. Okay. So my mantra would be try different things. If you're a natural at mentoring, we can talk about how second careers can help you. Okay. I think being a rocket scientist is not a trivial thing. All right. If you can manage a team of people under something as important as a rocket launch, you'll be able to handle most things in business. Okay.
So I hope. I don't know. I haven't tried it out, so it makes me a little nervous.
No, so the key is you have to try. Okay. You can't learn swimming theoretically. You have to jump in a freaking pond in order to know how to swim, right? I would say that is something that you should. But the panelists, Meenakshi, Bhavna, Amy, Sudha, Shanti, you may have something more to offer to Sujata. And after this, I would just get closing comments from each of the panelists and take on questions. There is one very interesting question which I will try to make sure is answered. So over to the panelists.
Sushma, before the panel answers, sorry, Bhavna, I had an idea that jumped up as soon as Sujata gave her background. There is an organization in India which is, supporting STEM education for women. Right? I mean, it would be fantastic to have Sujata as a mentor for an organization like that. And I'm sure there are many similar ones in the US as well, right? STEM for women, and where It'll be your subject matter expertise, but you can just guide them from your practical experience of having done some really cool things. So
Great.
I was just going to say it's a very female approach, I'll say, that I observe, to say, well, I'm just a rocket scientist. I'm not sure. I think women tend to undervalue their skills and think they have to live it, prove it, be proficient at it before they can sort of advertise it or pursue it. When I contrast that with how we've all seen men operate and get way out over their skis and selling their capabilities, that they really have almost no right to sell. I'm being a little bit cheeky here, but I do think there's a happy medium in between. I mean, I don't think you want to, promote yourself or pursue things that have no connection to your core skills, but I would say do an inventory of all the things that you really are good at across not just your career, your life, that you've contributed to, and you may just, like I was ignoring that strategy was a skill that I just assumed other people had, and could do and could put those dots together. Like, really take that inventory of ways you contribute that are more core skills that you could leverage, and things that bring you joy at this point in your life. Like, maybe you're really, really good at balancing your bank accounts or something, but it doesn't bring you joy. I think that intersection of, things you have natural talent for and things that bring you joy is really important.
Yeah.
So let me sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I wanted to add on to this is that, Sujata, maybe since you mentioned the rocket science part, there are a lot of students who would be loving to mentored by such a great person like you, not only in US, India as well. I can connect you to a lot of students whom you can guide them, and they'll be thankful for your lifetime. So you can get started there as your mentoring journey.
That would be nice. I think that would be fulfilling to do. So let's connect on that. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Sushma, if I can just conclude on Meenakshi and Amy to add to it. See, I am a very strong believer that second chances are not something that life throws at you, right? It's a decision you make at the pivotal points when you have to take a chance, right? So it's you who has to decide what you want to do, and then make a way for it. I think that's something that I want to conclude when we are just
very well said. Very well said. So here are the key learnings that we've had from our panelists. Live with 50% of discomfort. That's okay. Strategy and risk taking is one of the three panelists' core strengths. Reinvention is a pattern, is Meenakshi's mantra in life. Don't wait for clarity. Clarity will emerge. Clarity might be overrated. I don't think so. I think clarity is key. But anything that you do should lead to clarity. You don't have to begin with clarity.
Yes.
And curiosity and adaptability. 50% discomfort, strategy and risk-taking, reinventing is a pattern. Evolve clarity, don't wait for it. Curiosity and adaptability. That's what's come out from this panel. And I'm going to end with one of the questions, and that'll be, time for us to wind up the show. The question came from Janani, and she asked a very important question. When you leave a job, there is tremendous amount of uncertainty, particularly from a financial standpoint. How do you deal with it? And Janani, this is something I have been through. In 2019, when I stepped down as the CEO of ITC Infotech, and for about 8 months, I did not earn a penny. I would actually go to my husband and say, hey, can I spend this? So one day he looked at me and he said, Sushma, you've never asked me this question in 30 years of our marriage. Why in God's name are you asking me this question? And I told him, I said, no, I feel insecure. So money is security for a lot of people. And that's not a wrong thing. So, Janani, all I would tell you, I dealt with it by just taking a job as an advisor to somebody that got me a small amount, a fraction of what I had earned. And that helped me overcome that fear, right? Any nuggets of wisdom for Janani? Anyone else from the group?
Yes, very well agree, Sushma. So financial security is something very, very important for, especially for women who have been independent financially for quite some time. So having a plan in place, saying when you want to reinvent, it's not one fine day over a fortnight that you reinvent. So right. So when you have some vision that you want to do something, explore something different from your general career that you are building, having that structure in your mind and planning well ahead of time as to your finances, as to what you would need for maybe the 6 months or the 1 year till the time your new career picks up, that planning and visioning is very important rather than just jumping on to a new decision of career. I have done that, and I'm open to helping people doing that as well, because successfully I've transitioned multiple career changes and managing the finances as well. So, rightly said, finance is a real important decision when you want to reinvent.
Thank you very much. Thank you, panelists. Lively discussion. Over to Sudha and Shanti to conclude.
Thank you very much, Sushma. Yes, the answer to a lot of the questions that we saw on the chat, glad to say that the Career Reinvention Program does cover it. Working with younger people and creating your personal brand is the May 19th session, followed by funding your financial freedom on May 21st. And then, of course, the hard skills in AI through a workshop on supercharging your career with AI. A look under the hood of the social sector, Sujata's comment earlier. How does one work with a nonprofit? How does one contribute playing to the strengths you've built in your first career and perhaps shape a second career in the social sector is also an agenda. And then launching your entrepreneurial journey for those of you who are done with jobs, now want to do your own thing. This is just the beginning. On second careers, you can expect to see partner programs land on a regular basis to help you to find your next career or start, however you want to call it. Thank you very much for joining us. Shanti, any other things you'd like to add?
No, I think we're over time already. Thank you very much for staying engaged. We look forward to seeing you on the platform. And all the best to you in your, other career pursuits. It might be the second, third, fifth, 10th, like Meenakshi said, but yeah, all the best.
And we'll be there with you. Bye.